Spacemen, today we explore why it is that apparently Rob is not super attractive to all women. Today on the Manspace. Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, Spacemen. While we today do our show where we talk, or rather we tackle a subject that I brought up with my wife just last night. And she was like, I mean, are you jealous? And I was like, I mean, so maybe I'm not, maybe I don't want to get into it yet. I want to leave it as a teaser. Because we could also say we're here to talk about Mike's confidence.
I'd rather not talk about my confidence.
There's a part of me that's like, well, hold on. I need to meander a little bit. Let me settle into my boots here.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I have anything to meander on.
Well, I'm trying to.
Matt's not here. We could talk about that.
That is true. And he's not going to be here probably next week either. Or
no,
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now, which is a real bummer.
Which means
I'm
you
not
were supposed to go
Houston.
down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like 6 weeks for you. I decided you should come up here.
Just a quick 12-hour jaunt.
If you fly, it's less than 12 hours.
I'm getting, that's 3 weeks from now. No, wait. 28th. Yeah, 3 weeks from now. That's when I'm getting the old colon scope.
Oh, I got to do that. I got to find a doctor, though.
For some reason, I pictured in my head, I got to find a doctor who will do that. And I'm like, there is a doctor who, that's basically all they do. It's like, I don't know many doctors who will do that. Ain't no man taking that route with me. I keep thinking about, I want to make jokes to this doctor when I go to do it, but I'm sure I won't.
Moon River.
No, there's that one. No, I was thinking about Hot Shots. John Cryer's character who has the whatever vision thing. He's got.
There's one way they can fix it.
He's like, it's like a double octable pupillectomy or whatever. He's like, but you have to go in through the rectum. Ain't no man taking that route with me. It's such a stupid movie, dude.
It's so funny though. Which I think, that's when you should take your microphone in.
But
take your microphone in and
documenting live Rob's experience on the colon scope.
Well, and you could ask him because I'd be super curious, right? Like, I'll bet there's a lot of guys who make a lot of different jokes when they go in there, to try to ease their own discomfort.
That's funny, man. I'm like,
I'd be super curious to know, what are the things you hear all the time that you're just like, okay, I know. Which is the norm now, right? Like now they sedate you, but
yeah, did they not always?
No, I don't think so.
All I know is, when we're recording in 3 weeks, my surgery or my scoping is on the 28th, 29th. And we'll call that a men's health episode. But my scoping, I got to focus. I'm thinking about the scoping now. Nope, I lost it. Dang.
You are 45.
Yeah, I'm 45. That's when they say to get it.
Yeah.
I wish I could remember what I was just about to tell you. It doesn't matter. I'm not nervous about it. Oh, this is what's funny. When we're recording that on the day before I go in,
28
at 2:00, I'm supposed to start taking laxatives. The nurse who told me, I was like, can I, because originally when I was supposed to do this first, but you're supposed to have an 18-year-old to pick you up, which it doesn't say in the paperwork, it just says responsible driver, but that's a whole other story. She's like, I said, can I take these pills like I said, how soon does the pooping start? And she's like, well, when you take those laxatives, like, don't, like, be at home. Don't be out. She's like, I've talked to people that's like, it's cool. I work 5 minutes from home. She's like, and then they hit traffic on the way home and it's disastrous. And I feel like I have never had a disastrous pooping experience in my entire life.
Do you really want one?
No, I'm not. I just feel like I'm pretty sure I can hold it.
Uh-huh.
So what
I'm
will
sure
be
that's
funny is I'm going to take it while we're filming the show
Yeah,
in
mid-episode, you're
episode,
going to have to pop
and
up.
if all of a sudden Rob just darts out of the room, we all know why.
Yeah.
I'm just so curious.
And
This whole
thank
thing.
heavens this is the microphone that you use.
Oh,
and
man.
not this one.
Maybe I'll take in the old whatever they call them, the lavalier.
Nobody
I'm
wants
take it in.
to hear that.
I can
All I
narrate
can
for
think
you
is
guys.
that scene from Dumb and Dumber.
Oh man. There's so many other scenes too, though. Like I think it's Hot Shots Part 2 or something, where he's gives a speech and he goes in the bathroom and he's going pee the president or something, and he's like,
"Is it Hot Shots Part 2 or is it?" I think that happens in a lot of movies.
Also, as a side note, so that not that anybody cares, but our dad had surgery today.
That's true. Hip surgery,
hip replacement.
Mm-hmm.
Which, whenever you hear about that, it's
Getting
like
a bionic hip.
It feels like, oh, he's like officially into the realm of like hip replacement old. But also, our mother posted a picture of him pre-surgery, just wearing his outfit, and she's like, he didn't want me to post it, and I wanted to post my picture pre-surgery from my gallbladder ectomy.
Dude, which one? The one where you're standing and it's a back shot?
I was going to do the front shots. Because the back shot has just a little bit of peekaboo. Did I?
Yeah, you posted that. Yeah, dude. I mean, at a minimum, you sent it to me.
I probably posted it.
Because I have it.
It's all family. It's just a little sliver of cheek. All I know is I was like, come on, man, own that pre-surgery. You're going in. It's, for something, maybe I'll feel different when I get the old colonoscope, or maybe I'll feel different one day if it's like some serious, hey, we don't know how this is going to come out. But I feel like you're going into surgery. It's kind of like, well, this is 100% out of my hands. So I do what I do. I'm just going to make a bunch of jokes. And also, I do think when I had my gallbladder removed, that was probably the best shape I've ever been in my entire life, because I hadn't eaten like any sugar for weeks. Yeah. And I'd still been exercising and cut like soda mostly out of my diet totally. And I was eating very little at each meal, but it was like high fiber stuff. And I was like, wow, that's probably the best shape I'll ever be in ever. So here's to you, gallbladder. And now, Spacemen, if you could join us for a 1-minute moment of silence for Rob's fallen gallbladder.
1 minute feels real long.
So I'm going to add some time in there because Mike just ruined it. So I'll just add in the minute later, because Mike's not good at giving things their sacred space. Yeah, no one's ever said that. Rob's real good at that. So, and as we have said, Matt's missing today. He lives in a terrible city.
Gosh.
It's funny, actually. I really like Houston. I think it's very pretty in the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. But their weather is horrifying because they get hurricanes constantly, and it rains torrentially. And apparently it rained really heavy and his car was on the street and it flooded into his car and he didn't realize it. And so
because
like
then
a week.
Yeah,
he parked it in the driveway and then left for a week or something. And then when he came back, it stunk and he had to have all the flooring.
And the water had pooled.
And he had flooring and the seating ripped out, right?
Oh, everything was out. Like in the video he sent, the only thing still in there was the center console.
I feel like it'd be really hard not for me, even though he drives a Kia Forte. It'd be very hard not for me. That probably just ruined people's ideas. This is like when people were like, Rob, do you drive that Audi outside? I'm like, no, I drive a Dodge Neon that's balding. Like, people are like, oh, you guys drive a Kia Forte? Anyway, he drives a Kia Forte, but I feel like this would be my opportunity to be like, all right, well, what kind of sweet interior can you give me since I'm ripping it all out? Can we put
Yeah.
some lighting in? Can I get some leather? Can
Can
I
we
get
put some
some
really good cushion in that
padding in
back
that?
seat?
Yeah, too bad.
Because
What
getting
Matt
porpoised is terrible.
porpoise, for those who don't know, is when you ride over on the back seat. Mike was always in the back, as he belongs, and you'd hit these bumps, and it's like it just goes straight into his butt.
Yeah. And at
Porpoised.
one point,
Like
I
whoop,
had
whoop.
done something to like my lower back. And
Oh,
anyway,
did we?
I don't think I told you guys, but the going over those things, I was dying. I was like,
But I mean, I do feel
this
like
hurts so bad.
in fairness, I offered you multiple times that I'd sit in the back. You never took me up on it.
I didn't. And then but see, that's like when you first were offering it, um, I didn't know Matt real well still.
Yeah, yeah.
And
He's an
so,
enigma. Do any of us really know Matt?
dude, I love Matty. He's
But I
freaking
also
rad.
think, well, it's not just his other car. His battery died again or something,
Yeah, it's like
right?
some weird, like it's
That stupid
there's
auto start
something in
thing.
the electrical system that is like leaching the battery.
So he's got two cars
And
down, and then he lost internet today until about 2 o'clock, 2:20. So he's
yeah,
out. You'll just have to listen to Rob ramble on, Mike making occasional poignant statements, though not owning those poignant statements, and we'll talk about that today too.
do you remember when we were kids and we would talk about the two of us having a radio show?
Yes, because you've reminded me,
And
but I think I actually forgot that.
well, we did, and we would talk
Oh.
about what it would sound like,
Uh-huh.
and it would sound like Rob telling jokes, and then there's just Mike laughing in the background,
What's funny
which I
is
think it's pretty accurate.
what's funny is I've thought many times uh, how much I laugh at my own jokes. It's why I like writing. I think I'm hilarious when I write. I don't know if anybody reads it, but it is.
It,
I'm so funny to
no,
myself.
but that's like it's one of those things where I always used to laugh when I would hear like singers and stuff, and they would talk about like, I mean, I wrote it for me, and I thought, sure you did,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. Like it's I had a stretch where in the position I was serving in church, right? I was sending out weekly emails, and I
Yeah.
thought, well, if I got to send them,
Yeah.
I'm going to turn this into something.
Right.
And so, like, I loved like, and it turned out the people enjoyed reading them because I would get lots of like, oh my gosh, I look forward to this every week. And I had a friend who like, had kind of quit coming to church and goes, but not your emails. He goes, I read those every week. But it was one of those where I was like, yeah, I just do it for me. Like if
That's a
I'm going to
moment.
write it, I got to laugh.
That's a moment where it's like you could declare you're bigger than Jesus because he's like, I don't want God in my life, but I do want Mike in my life. So I'm gonna paint a picture for you, spaceman. I live, unfortunately, I back up to a fairly busy street. Hilariously enough, my wife and I, when we were buying the house, were like, hey, maybe this is a deal breaker. Let's go back in the backyard and see how it sounds. And we went out and thought, oh, it's not so bad. It's quieter than I thought it would be. Well, we went out on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Weird that it was so quiet back there.
Well, because when did you guys buy that house though?
When?
Yeah.
2015. So
Yeah.
10,
Gaddis
9
traffic
years ago.
didn't used to be that bad.
I know it's much worse now. But here's what we found out
the pandemic
quickly.
in California. Sweet justice.
We live, our house is also somewhat near a stoplight. And on the top of an incline, a hill, that's the non-technical term. And
I mean, incline was pretty
sometimes,
technical, but
periodically, that's why I said hill. Periodically, at like 2 a.m, you'll hear a very loud fart, long fart noise. It's not me.
it's Becky.
And I'm wondering, what am I attracted to here? No, it's a car who's like, I don't know, straight piped his car or taken the muffler off or put on one of those extra big ones with holes in it so it gets super loud. Whatever it is, it's super obnoxious. And I've wondered many times, who does that? Even though actually I know some people that I really like that do that. Like they like the sound of it, they like the feel of it, the whole kit and caboodle. I always imagine that these guys drive around thinking, right now, everybody is so impressed with my car. I had my own version of this. I used to listen to my punk music really loud with the windows down, thinking, dude, everyone is looking at me, thinking, that guy is cool.
Did
How do
you
I shake?
actually think that?
I totally thought that. I totally believe that people thought, what is that music, man? That is so fast. It's so cool. Who is that
Hmm.
guy? And I thought I looked cool.
With
Like
your
I have
backwards
learned,
hat.
yes, man. And I have learned, sadly, not only that was I not as cool as I thought, I just wasn't cool, period. There's no as I thought there anymore. Just wasn't cool. Now, I'm okay with that, I think. Because I've heard these stories recently, and I'll throw Matt under the bus since he's not here in some of these stories. I'm going to mix together some stories about like I have a client that I would say, holy cow, that dude is attractive. People tend to say that about Matt. Uh, enough. I've
In
mentioned this.
fairness, Matt is very attractive.
He is, and he hates when we talk about this. But
He
he,
does.
um, he's got stories. I've been with him before when some woman brought us. I've mentioned this, I think, at least twice on this show.
Mm-hmm.
They brought
It's
us
one of my favorite Matt stories.
they brought us pizza. We went and got, whatever our pizzas, and I get mine, and it's already sitting there, and Matt's still waiting for his. And this woman walks up and says, I was told to give this to an unreasonably attractive man. And I said, well, I guess I got my pizza, so I guess it's not me. like, like all angry at this woman. And Matt's like, yeah, dude. He's like, I hate that crap. And I'm like, do you?
And that's the funny thing. The fact that that's his reaction
I know.
says not the first time
He's
something like that's happened.
No, he's told me other stories where phone numbers are
Yeah.
just given to him.
Yeah.
Now, I've had
Well, I remember
moments.
that story too.
I've
Like
had
on
moments
his
on a
bill,
date with
right?
his wife. Yeah, on his bill.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've had moments in my life where I felt like I'm really attractive. Now, I don't think I'm a lot to look at. There has been one or two times in my life where someone has told me. Jenner actually told me a story once about I was getting up at church to like do something, and she said this girl said, "Who's that guy? He's attractive." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." She's probably looking at somebody else, but it doesn't matter. But
When was
most of the
this?
time, oh, this was like 21.
High school. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mike, for
Not
outing
high
me for
school.
how bad I was at school. Rob was still in high
No.
school at 21. But the other two times that I could say maybe three times, I'll say three times where I felt like something about me is attractive. One was when I was teaching grad school, and one of my students at the end of the semester was like, "Hey, Porter." I was like, "Hey, that's weird. You just call me Porter." And she's like, "I was thinking maybe you want to go get coffee sometime." And I was like, "Do you mean like supervision? You want to do supervision with me?" She's like, "Oh, yeah. I mean, we could do that." I was like, "Well, then you can just go on my website and find my phone number and contact me." And everyone was like, "Dude, she was asking me." I was like, "Oh, she was. I still got it." Or the other two times were when I was in a band. Uh, Once was we played a Halloween show. I was wearing a full spandex unitard,
Oh
a,
my.
a wig, and a fake mustache. And after the show, these two girls came back to flirt with me and Ryan, the bass player. And one of them started trying to sit on my lap. She looked like she was probably 17, which freaked me out because I was like 23.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, I'm going to go change because this unitard isn't working for me. And Ryan gave me like a dirty look. He's like, dude, don't leave me. And I just stayed in that bathroom changing until they left. So
Dude, how
clearly
mad was
shows
Ryan?
he was pissed at me. He had to be nice and try to shoo them both off. But
Yeah.
then the other time was this. There was this one woman who, when she saw my band play, she told her friends, who later told me, they said, she said, when I see Rob up there singing and playing, I want to have his love child.
Yeah. I remember that one.
It's because I only have so many of these stories and I have to tell them. Matt doesn't want to tell his stories. Rob has to tell these stories. So here's what I'm wondering. And this will tie into, I think this will tie into Mike's confidence. But what I wonder about in these, because I've heard some other stories from clients where it's like, how'd you get into this situation with another woman? And it'll be like, and then this woman just approached me and said, here, I want you to, it's like something stereotypically manly, like this client I'm saying who's super attractive, very perfect head of hair, very muscly, does masculine things, stereotypically masculine things. Or it's the element around the stereotypically manly things, in addition to being attractive. That I'm kind of like, man, do women, like this guy who drives by my house at 2 a.m. with his loud engine? Are there women out there being like, oh my gosh, that is so attractive? Because all I can think is that is so obnoxious. I'm trying to sleep, which makes me sound like I'm a 55-year-old dude being like, get off my lawn. But so like I hear all this and I was talking to my wife, is like, I asked Marianne too, I was like, would that be attractive to you? Some guy who drives a really fast car or whatever. And she's like, because I thought of another friend of Mike that you and I know, but something about revving his engine and how it really did something for his wife.
Yeah.
And thinking, that's the kind of thing that I think I would tell people that is not what attracts women. Like they're not looking for meatheads who, now admittedly that's not fair because these aren't all meatheads, right? But it's like the stereotypical toxic masculinity type thing. We get this
Right.
message like, don't do that. But then it's like, but are you attracted to the 45-year-old bald guy who's driving a minivan around town? I don't think you are. I think you want the guy who's out there who's modified his car and also just like threw an axe an hour earlier, and you're like, that guy's attractive. Now, evolutionarily speaking, I can say there's an argument for that, right? Because you would have known that guy can protect me versus if I have to rescue this guy. This is part of my conversation with Becky last night. How come it is, if a woman comes and rescues you, is that attractive? Like, no, because if that happens, I'm no longer the alpha male. I'm going to get kicked out of the tribe. Rob can't even fight off the whatever. So that guy's booted. So I'm asking Marianne and Becky this, and they're both like, no, that is not attractive to me. And they're not saying like, I don't think they were saying that's not attractive to anybody. But I'm sure you have clients. I have clients sometimes where it's like, or even if you took this movie or the TV show, the one with Jason Segel, where he's shrinking.
Yeah.
Shrinking?
The one where he's with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, where he's got this woman and he tells her, just leave this dude. He's terrible for you. And then you see the dude and he's like a stereotypical manly meathead, or like this girl who was attracted to me because I was in a band. I think, do you even know me? Or are you just attracted to this idea? But then I started thinking, well, what is it that's attractive to women? I got to figure this out. I need more phone numbers. This is where Becky's like, are you jealous of these people? I was like, no, I don't. I honestly don't feel jealous, but it feels I built my life around, probably because I didn't have it going on. I built my life around this idea that like women are attracted to sensitivity, honesty,
Right.
and
Here's the
humor.
thing. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, see, it's interesting
Everything I say is.
because I know it's why I hang out with you, Rob. Um, no, I was thinking of a story that I'm not sure you can tell.
Uh,
Um,
is it about me?
no, it's the
Oh,
one that you
oh,
prefaced this
earlier.
whole idea with. That is
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to get specifics into anything, even though
right, and so
I wouldn't identify anybody. But
right, but I think in that instance, right, like the woman's like hands the guy the card, says, "Well, I probably shouldn't say that much." Anyway, like I think, yeah, but what's their goal here? Right? Like I
sure,
think yes, they're attracted to this idea, and like the guy, the the manly, the axe throwing and the engine revving, and I think, sure, what are you looking for? Someone who's going to be entertaining? Does the minivan scream entertaining? No, the minivan screams good provider, good dad,
yeah,
and so I think right, if that's what they're looking like, one, I think, well, dude, the guy who's doing that's already not available. He's
sure,
already driving the minivan. He's not available.
right. But he's also not
So we don't,
attractive anymore.
but how do you know that? Because they're not actually
Science.
thinking that direction. Science. Like it's one of those, we all have those things that when you see, it's like, oh, clearly I can't keep looking at you in that way anymore.
Well, I don't think that's. I mean, I can tell you stories of these, of clients I have that are more, we'll say, more manly or masculine than me in a
Mm-hmm.
stereotypical sense, and they are quote unquote taken. Like there's even this story, like Becky and I talked about. We all want the whole package. Men want a woman who it's like, this isn't true for all men, right? But the stereotype is I want a woman who will, she has dinner ready for me when I get home and she's so excited to see me and she wants to have sex like every day. Right.
Sure.
But, or that women want somebody where it's like he just felled that tree with his bare hands, mopped his brow, and then went and picked up his children and laughed and giggled and wrestled with them. Then put them all in the minivan and drove them home. At which point he parked the minivan in the driveway and pulled his whatever, his big manly jacked up truck out of the thing and took me on a hot date. Like, and there are dudes like that exist. And actually,
Sure.
in a thousand ways, I think Matt is that dude. He doesn't care about the car, so it's like he's driving a Kia Forte.
Sure.
But there's a confidence in that that's like that's attractive. He does not care what he's driving.
So that's it, right?
Is that we just nailed it? We've figured out what women want. You're welcome,
Confidence.
men.
They want confidence. Like this is as I have this conversation with couples all the time, right? Well, what's attractive? Oh, I like it, and inevitably it comes back to I like it when he's confident. It's the same thing with like I'll have this. Jenner and I have had this conversation a lot. That like men find confidence sexy, right? When we
Yeah,
see a
sure.
woman, it doesn't actually matter if she looks like the model in the dress. It matters, is she confident in the dress?
Right.
If she's confident in the dress, the dude's going to respond. Right? And so I think no, we tend to be attracted to confidence. The guy who's got the car, right or wrong, societally, I think there are certain things, right? Like we tend to associate, like even your example, we tend to associate jacked up trucks, sports cars with confidence. Minivans, we tend to associate with sniveling little whiny man
I
child.
disagree, though. I associate them reversed. When I see someone with a jacked up
You
truck,
do.
Or when I see somebody or I hear somebody's loud engine, all I hear is insecurity
Sure.
and trying to mask that. When I see somebody
Right.
driving a minivan, I think that guy's got nothing to prove.
Right.
That's confidence. So
Right.
that's what
But like,
confused me about this. I was like, are people not seeing through this? Are you not
well,
seeing through? Now that's not the case for everybody because there are plenty of people who have jacked up trucks who are very confident and they don't care about the truck. It's kind of like I would actually love to own a jacked up, not necessarily truck because they're too big. I want like a jacked up Forerunner, like
right.
I love the idea of feeling like a little kid again and like I'm going to drive my truck on the dirt roads and it's fun. Like it feels like same reason I want to drive a garbage truck and I want to drive a tow or not a tow truck, but so I'm
A
not saying
dump
that all
truck.
men who do this are not confident.
Right. Well, but that's the thing too, right? Is I think there's an inherent in the way this we're shaping this conversation. There's an inherent assumption that the reason that they do this is to try to hide an insecurity. What if they just really like it? Like, what if they just like your kid, Stuart? He's a car kid.
Uh-huh.
Not like as some I've known, but like he's for as long as I've, like he's always been super interested in cars. You've talked about his
Oh yeah.
ability to identify cars based off of like the rear
Side
left
panel.
panel of the
Yeah.
frickin' car. Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
And I think, sure, if he gets far enough into this, if he decides like, nope, I really want to kind of dive in here, then
Yeah.
he's going to start hearing certain engines and be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like that's freaking amazing. Which
Right.
means if he has a car that does that, is he trying to hide some insecurity or does he just love the
Well,
feel
that's
of
what I
it?
mean. Yeah, I understand. I do agree with that there are people out there that for sure they just love it. Like when I was a kid growing up, putting either a baseball card or a smushed pop can
Right. In your
in
spokes or your
my
tires.
spokes or against my tires to make it sound like I was riding a motorcycle. I
Yeah.
thought it sounded freaking cool. Like, and it felt cool. So, and I didn't feel like I don't think anyone looked at me and was like, whoa, that guy's cool. It just felt cool. And it's kind of like when we talk about our colognes. It's like, it makes me feel confident.
Yeah.
But I think, uh, and there are certain things like, I could take this confidence thing and say, it's not like I looked attractive when I was on stage singing in a unitard, um, wearing a fake mustache, but I was very confident up there. Or my student who asked me out at the end of a semester, I had talked about my wife and kids the entire semester. She wasn't dumb to the fact that I had a wife and kids, but I was confident in front of the room, and so I was probably attractive to her. Now, does she know me at all? Not in the slightest. But I guess it's that I felt like it was such the stories that I have of these things. It's such a um, it's not just like, oh, that's attractive. It's like I'm throwing myself at this person because of this thing that I had decided my whole life. We all know nobody's actually attracted to that, which obviously is not true.
Well, I was going to say, like, how much of that was because I think as people, we have a habit of, certainly I've done it, of being dismissive of something we're not. Well, most people probably don't like that. Why? Well, because I don't have
Yeah.
it. And so if people really like that and I don't have it, then what does that say about me? So I'm going to convince myself that people don't actually like it.
Well, that's the way I feel about country music, but not because I don't have it.
Sure. But I think, right, with cars, like that's not the house we were raised in. Like our dad knew how to, like, I'm sure he can do car stuff. Sure, like change tires and stuff. I don't know what else he
Sure.
can do.
Sure.
Um, but we weren't, a car was a tool to get you from point A to point B. Like my, mom and dad have never been into flashy any kind of car. They don't care.
Right.
And so, sure, we were raised in a house where that's not, a thing. And so as we're hanging out, like and we see someone and we're in high school and we're feeling threatened because they got this car and the girls we're hanging out with are like, oh my gosh. Okay, well, what do we do? Well, that's not really attractive. That guy's just hiding his insecurities. Like, I'm wondering how much of it is just us from an early age building this narrative of nobody actually likes that. I mean, obviously people do, or you wouldn't have these stories.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, obviously people do. And even when I say nobody likes that, I know people do. Like
Sure.
I know a lot of people love country music.
The question is, what is it in your head? What does it say about those people that like the car guy?
Becky and I talked a little bit about that actually last night. Like I did think the people who throw themselves at these situations, like the woman who's like giving her phone number to Matt without even talking to
Mm-hmm.
him, I feel like, well, I feel like, hey, good for you for shooting your shot. Like it's a little dumb to do it when you can tell he's there with his wife, but you know, that's confidence to just be like, hey, you're cute. Let's see what this could be. When you know they're a married person, it feels like, so you're not looking for anything of any sort of significance because there's no way it's going to lead to that. Uh, I don't, I don't know what it tells me about the people who are attracted to it. I just like, my friend Brian Crofts when I was in college. He drove a
Mm-hmm.
brand new Forerunner that he had done some. He just had like some like grill bars and stuff put on it, and it looked cool. It was a good car. Um, and so many women were like, "Do you drive that car?" And they were like so attracted to him because he drove that car. And I just kept thinking, what? Now, at the time, I could say, yeah, I was probably jealous. Like, I was interested in finding women. And
Mm-hmm.
Rob's driving a light blue Toyota Tercel, 1992. And no one's like, do you drive that Tercel? What'd you name
But
him?
really rad
Like,
music
yeah.
and
They're,
manual windows.
I know when you roll those windows down, you get that punk music going. They're like, who's that cool guy? I just think I guess it's funny because, I mean, yeah, we already talked about it. I do think there have been times too where my confidence feels high. Like I remember when I was, going to set up for a show and you're walking in with your equipment and automatically I felt cool. Or
Mm.
like when I remember we played the BYU Battle of the Bands and you weren't there for that, right?
I mean, I was, but I think I had two. I think Cole had like just been born,
Maybe.
um, so there was
But
a lot of stuff we didn't with two
yeah,
small kids. Yeah,
but that's the one where they almost turned us off because people were starting to crowd surf and that wasn't allowed. So they turned the lights on. And
yeah.
so I was like, everybody get down. And the band kept playing. And we finished and there was these, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who came to the stage afterwards, like, can I have like one of your picks? And I was like, what? They're like, can I have one of your picks? I was like, sure. I said, we're not famous, right? Like these aren't, did you want me to sign them? They're not worth anything, like, but I remember feeling confident and probably that confidence. I mean, it does a lot to carry people through. It's funny. I don't want to spoil anything. Spacemen, if you're listening to this, you have 2 weeks, no, 1 week, 1 week to finish reading Dave Grohl's book, Storyteller. Uh, but it's funny how much his confidence is just the way he really just fakes it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if I think about, and maybe that's what's missing when I look at these, maybe the dude with the big truck with jacked up wheels or the dude with the loud muffler or whatever it is, maybe that's their version of cologne. Like it makes me feel confident. So I get out and I seem more confident when I get out of my car. And that confidence is readable. And so just and this is what's funny about dating apps actually is it's like how do you communicate that confidence in stupid photos you post on your dating app?
Well, like that guy that tried to hook up with Marianne. You just send pictures from here to here to make sure that you can always see the logo of the shirt you're wearing.
I mean, to me, confidence is always like I'm gonna show you a picture of me doing something stupid uh, because I'm not basing my confidence on my looks. Now,
Mm,
maybe I should just base it more on my looks because who doesn't want this? I just wanted to pause it for a minute so that people could really take it in on
mm-hmm.
YouTube at least. On
Right.
if you're listening, you're just going to have to imagine or pull up the thing where you can see our faces and notice that in the picture with my eyebrow up, it looks like Rob grew a caterpillar on his forehead. The lighting of it is hilarious. That's all. So I don't you and maybe like I said, maybe we narrowed it down too much. But when I say what are women attracted to, and if we branch this into this idea of confidence, that we're saying it's confidence, because it's there's no way of saying all women are attracted to this thing other than maybe saying every woman at some level is attracted to confidence. Every human at some level is attracted to confidence.
I think that's true. I think the other stuff, you're right. Like, as we started this whole thing, I thought, well, it's kind of a funny topic
I'm
because
kind of a funny
it is
guy.
such a subjective thing.
But that's what we do on the Manspace. We make the subjective objective
Sure.
on
Because,
the Manspace
I
social.
mean, this is the only place that you can trust.
Exactly.
But I think, yeah, like, sure, there probably are women who are attracted, right? Like, you can get into the whole, everyone just marries their father. And I think, sure, how many of these women who are attracted to it had a dad who, worked on cars?
Right.
Like, I could think of some kids I know where, nope, that's exactly like dad works on cars. Is it any surprise that daughter is like,
Yeah.
loves car stuff?
Right.
Not to me. So you can get into that. I mean, but it's crap. Like, I always, I always laugh at because you and Becky, well, it doesn't matter. You both have your what is it? The hall pass list.
No, it's your
That
celebrity affair.
there it is. Okay, sure.
All pass
Anyway,
list makes it too personal. It makes it
I don't
real.
know. Um, is it like? But Kevin James is on hers, right?
As far as I knew, for a period of time, that was the only
Or for a
person on
period of
hers.
yeah. And I think sure, it, like it's not that Kevin James is necessarily an attractive man. Like he's not unattractive, but he's
Have you
not
seen Hubie
like
Halloween?
there's.
He's awesome in that.
Oh, he's awesome and like I love Kevin James. I think he's freaking hilarious.
Let's
But
get him on the
he's
show.
not who I would necessarily call attractive, right?
Yeah, sure.
Um, but for Becky, sure, humor is a very attractive trait to her.
I'm gonna I'm gonna find Kevin James on Instagram and I'm gonna
Uh huh.
stalk him until he agrees to come on the show. I'm gonna tell him you're my wife's hall pass,
Celebrity.
celebrity hall pass, and
um,
he'll be like I'm the hall pass for like 7 million women, or he'll be like I'm not the hall pass for anybody. That's awesome. Let's talk to these guys.
let's go on the show.
Get your wife on the show.
Let's try to get him and like Ryan Gosling at the same
But
time.
both easy gets. So I think then give me your give me your top 3 tips to develop confidence.
No,
Mike, you just got to spit them out confidently.
no. Well, thanks, Rob. Actually, there
Uh
there is something to be said, I think, for simply choosing to act as though you do.
huh.
Right? Like the more that you behave in a certain like behaviors build thought processes as much as thought processes build behaviors. And so the more that you behave in a way that expresses confidence, the more you'll begin to feel confidence. So I do think there's something to that. One of the other ones, pay attention to the things that people say about you. The example I use here, I taught for 15 years, almost 15 years. Um, and it took me the better part of almost 15 years to say I'm a good teacher. Um, Now I can say it. In particular, I'm very good at managing a classroom. And it took me years to say that. The reason I can say it with confidence now is it was something that, like, every evaluation, which happened yearly, right, when you're in education, every evaluation I got, anytime I would talk to like parents or other teachers, they'd be like, oh my gosh, the way you handle your class, or the way you interact with your class, or the way you, like, all of that. And so it was just one of those where I heard it enough that I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something to this. And I started looking for myself. And I started watching the way that other people would manage classrooms. And I would see things that I didn't like, and I would notice that I didn't do it. Um, and I just started to actually pay attention to my own process. And I thought, oh, okay, I guess I'm pretty, like, I'm good at this. And the more I started looking, the more I just came to believe, oh, yeah, I actually know what I'm doing here. In part because I could tell other people, hey, go try this, and they would do it and come back and say, that really worked.
Yeah.
And so look at things that other people tell you that you're good at, and look for the evidence yourself, right? Like, you have to see it. You can't. I'll often tell my clients that I think confidence often starts externally, but true confidence is an internal thing. If my confidence is based off of external factors, I'm in trouble. It has to be a belief that I hold. And ironically, true confidence is not comparative. And so, like, there was a stretch as I was developing, like, my confidence, right, and, like, beginning to see my skills as a teacher, where I would be comparative. By the time I was done, I didn't do that anymore. I viewed it as, yeah, that's how they do it. It's not how I do it, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, and, like, they're welcome to do it that way. That's great for them. And it was no longer a reflection on, am I good at this or not? Because I thought, no, that's just, it what works for them. I've got my own thing, and it works. And so confidence has to be, I think, internal. So that's two. Third one.
I mean, two's good. You don't have to have a
Well,
third.
here's my third one. My third one is knowledge, practice, whatever you want to put in, right? Like, it's the whole outliers idea,
Yeah.
10,000 hours. I'm much more confident in what I do now than I was. I mean, I started June of 2019, so I'm just past five years, right? And for the first year and change, it was like hardly any hours a week, but the simple fact that I've done this, 30 plus hours a week for years. Yeah, I keep trying to learn, right? I'll read things, and I'll keep studying, and I have conversations with you and Matt and other therapists, and to see the way that they think. And the more that I do it, the more I increase in confidence in my abilities and my understanding and all of those things. So knowledge and practice are probably the other. Like, if you really want to feel confident in something, learn it and practice it.
Yeah, I do think, I mean, mine will mostly be tweaks of yours or adding to yours. Like, cause I think, I do think one of my biggest things that I would tell people with confidence is to borrow the phrase from rational emotive behavioral therapy, is to act as if,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, act like you're confident and you will
Yeah.
become more confident over time. Fake it till you make it, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of truth in that. And I also think my second thing was don't compare yourself to people, because, which is kind of what you're saying, because it has no bearing on whether because somebody else is also good at something,
Right.
or even maybe better than you at something, does not mean you're not good at that thing.
Right.
It's not all or nothing. You're the best or you're nothing.
Well, and
Be good at the thing.
I'll tell people all the time, confidence doesn't care.
Right.
And by
Neither
that I
does
mean
cool.
exactly what you're talking about. What now?
I said neither does cool.
Sure.
That's why I'm
Um,
cool.
Confidence, like, yeah, it's because it's not comparative. I'm not threatened by someone else's ability to do it.
Right. It doesn't take away
I
my
simply
ability to do it.
recognize they're good at it too.
Yeah. And I think, I do think, I don't remember if I had a third one.
Oh, so you asked me for three and you don't even have three?
That's just how confident I am. I mean, I'll make one up. I'm going to still take what, I mean, so far I've only taken your two. So I don't even have three. I don't even have one. I was thinking about this idea. Oh, I do have a third, and then I'll tweak yours. But my third was, uh, well, I'll build on yours and make mine a fourth, because I do think it matters to. I think there's pretty much nothing. There's very little that we can't figure out as humans. Like, so if you want to figure something out, if you keep working at it, you will figure it out eventually. Sometimes that may take you thousands of hours. It may take you, I mean, maybe pretty quick, but you will figure it out if you want to eventually. You will improve in whatever you try to do eventually. Period. Humans do that. Period. So you can improve. The thing I'd build onto that is, it's like when I talked to my landlord about how'd you get into owning all these properties. And he said, Rob, you don't get in because of what you know. You get in because of what you don't know. If you knew it all, you'd freak out and you wouldn't do it. And one of the problems I have, with confidence, is I can think through the ways things will go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of diving in and being like, well, I'll figure it out. This may sound weird, but don't overthink it so much that you've just talked yourself out of whatever it is. Like, if you're thinking about the ways it can go wrong, then you're going to get up there or get out there and focus on those things, and it'll fall apart, and you'll think, see, I knew I couldn't do it. So you just kind of, sometimes you watch 17 YouTube videos, like, okay, I can do that. Like, I just watched, I mean, I could tell you about all of my kids doing something that I'm like, holy crap, how did you do that? And it seems like they just didn't really think about it. They just did it. And didn't think about whether it would go this way or that way. They just did it. Like, I think about home repair stuff or car repair stuff. My fear is always, what is this going to cost me to have somebody else fix what I screwed up? It's always a money thing. Instead of saying, I've watched people come and work on my house, and I can see they don't know what they're doing either. They just feel confident working on stuff. So they'll do it, and it comes out great.
Right. And some of that is they have confidence. Well, and that's one, I think they have confidence in the tools, right? Like, there are specific tools that
Sure.
that you use for, like, there's a particular wrench that is very useful when you're doing faucets.
Yeah, I don't know that
it is really a weird wrench.
It's only,
and the first
faucets.
time I used it, I thought, I don't know how this thing works, and I couldn't use it right.
It's the best thing ever.
Oh, I know how to use it now. I've done a handful of faucets in my life.
When you use it, it's like, this is amazing.
Right, like, it's super easy, and I think, right. But these guys, they have a comfort with these tools because they use them all the time.
Right.
And here's the bigger part to me is, as you're kind of like debating whether or not to jump into this, like, look and say, how often, when something goes wrong, how often am I able to handle it?
Right.
Like, I don't necessarily love last minute changes. They're not my favorite. But in a classroom, no, my principal loved me. Like every principal I ever worked for loved me because they could walk into my room and say, "Hey, I need you to basically dump the last half of your day, or I need you to dump the next hour, and I need you to stop and go do this." And I'd be like, "Okay."
Right.
And so suddenly my class is missing out on a lesson that I'm going to have to make up at some other point because I got to go to this thing my principal asked. And all I have to say is, okay.
Right.
Because I think, yeah, it's fine. I can do that. And
Sure.
whatever problem's going to come, I know I can handle that problem.
Right.
Because like that was a friend of mine. We were working on planning something. And like you, I don't know, gift or a curse. I can see how things won't work. Like it's super easy for me to see like this is the drawback and this is where it's not going to work. And I had a friend, we were planning some activity and I'm like, well, what about this, this, and this? And he goes, well, we're not even there yet. And I was like, well, I know, but you should be thinking about it. And he goes, why?
I'll think about it
Like
when I get there.
Yeah. And he goes, they might not even happen. And I was like, well, but they could. And he goes, right. And if they do, we'll work it out, man. And that interaction, I was like, oh, holy crap, he's right. Like, how
Don't
much do
overthink
I?
it.
Right. And I know that I can handle last minute things like that because I had done it for years as a teacher. And so I thought, oh, right. That's a skill I have. I know I can handle last minute complications. So why expend all this energy worrying about it? Just go out and do the thing. And so I think that's another way of kind of addressing the lack of confidence is like trust in your ability to just to not overthink it and your ability to manage a problem when it comes up.
So Spacemen, if you've been listening, we basically just told you how to make every woman on the planet attracted to you.
Yep.
No other podcast will offer you that same value.
And not be accurate. I mean, because you can't trust most other.
So because it's of such value, we're going to soon ask for donations. I'm just kidding. We should. Only the patron saint of the Manspace has ever been one to ever donate. I mean, I don't want to call everybody else out. There's a lot of other people I'm calling out right now. So consider our value in your life and how confident we are that confidence ooze into you, and then come back and join us next time on the Manspace. Honey Badger don't care.